Welcome to the original International Teacher Podcast with hosts in 4 different time zones, Greg, Darian, Kent, JP, and Hannah, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best kept secret in education. You got it, international teaching. Welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the International Teacher Podcast. I am Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting. I'm joined today by Greg the Single Guy. Hey Greg.
Hi everybody, hi listeners.
And I also have Hannah, the co-hostess with the mostess. Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm awesome and here in Mexico.
You gotta change that title. That's so corny.
Co-hostess with the mostess?
JP, that is so corny.
It's awesome.
I'm the single guy. You're the JP Mint Consulting, and Hannah. Well, we're gonna have to figure something out.
Well, no, Hannah. she's the family gal. She's the family gal.
Okay.
But I mean, today she's the co-hostess with the mostess, and we are also joined with guests today, Scott and Amanda. Hey, Scott and Amanda. Hello.
Thanks for having us.
So we always ask, where are you in the world and how did you get there? Can you give us an elevator pitch of some kind?
Yeah, so we're currently in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This is our second year here. And previously working backwards, we were previously in Thailand for 2 years, in the Philippines for 5 years. And then I was in Shanghai for 2 years. And before that, Dubai for 6 years. And Amanda was in California. So this goes back to 2008, 2009. And we actually met online on OkCupid while I was going from Dubai to Shanghai.
What?
Yeah.
So there's hope for me yet. I should be on Cupid
great.
something.
Yeah.
Cupid thing, whatever.
Okay, Cupid thing.
Yeah. Wow. It was right at the beginning when Tinder just started to come out. So it was phasing out of the website dating situations and then becoming more like apps. So that's kind of to give you that little tech timeline.
So were you in the same city when you did this OkCupid thing?
No, so I was actually going from Dubai to Shanghai. So I was in Italy on a family vacation, and she was in California starting her teaching career. And so we did 2 years long distance from Shanghai to Gilroy, California.
Yeah.
But wait a second. I mean, the apps usually do a sort of locale, this person's in your vicinity, but there is I think a possibility to sort of open it up to the world. And that's what you both had done?
So no, actually, I had only done California only, but Scott had done worldwide. And so when we matched, I read his bio, and at the bottom, the very last sentence said moving from Dubai to Shanghai. And I was like, WTF, how did we match up? I didn't think that. But then I saw that he was doing international education. So I was like, ooh, tell me about that though. Because I didn't think this would work out. I was like, he's going to China. Why would this match? But here we are.
Totally. I don't get it. I haven't even been on those things because I'm
algorithm
let's meet
is
in
crazy
for dinner,
Yeah.
No fair.
So Amanda, had you heard of international education before you met Scott then? It sounds like maybe you were curious about it.
So sort of. I heard about, the typical start for many people, which was teaching English abroad. And that wasn't a huge pull for me. I did think in high school I was going to move to Germany and teach English because I just loved the language. But then other things kind of transpired, and I ended up taking a backpacking trip in Yosemite and doing the John Muir Trail. And that was okay, I need to move to California. So my in was through AmeriCorps. So I did AmeriCorps in California and just kind of heard little inklings, but I always wanted to move abroad. So then a friend convinced me at you told me not to do it, but I'm going to make the joke anyway. It was one of those 1 a.m. decisions to join this dating site. I was like, sure, why not? And so yeah, when we matched up, I was like, oh, like I'm really drawn to international living. Like, tell me more about that. And so, yeah, I learned about it actually from you.
And Scott, how did you learn about it? Because you had been in the States originally, I imagine.
Yeah. So during my master's program, when I was coming out, it was when the mortgage crisis happened. And so some, career counselors that have been in, counseling for 20, 30 years were losing their job in California. So I started, thinking about what else could I do? Where else could I go? I did have a job lined up in my small Northern California town. And my family, said, don't come back home. We love you. You have a room available always, but don't come back home. There's nothing for you here. Go and do something else. They didn't mean for me to go all the way across the world to Dubai, but at the same time, I just started searching. And I got in touch with a guy who was in Australia, and he mentioned ISS and Search to me. ISS at the time didn't allow people that didn't have experience to join because I was still in my internship. And so I joined Search and went to a job fair, San Francisco, in February. Had no idea what I was doing. There was a guy that was at a desk who said, hey, come to sunny Dubai. I had no idea where Dubai was, and luckily nailed that interview. He offered it then and there, and gave me 24 hours to decide. So I tried to do as much research as I could in that span, and called my parents, and they, blessed me with that and said, what's the worst that can happen? I said, all right, let's go for it.
And then you haven't been back.
Haven't moved back.
Wow. So that would have been around 2008, 2009?
Yeah, correct.
Wow. You just like dove right in, sold everything. You didn't have sort of like a little locker, like where you rent a locker for well, what are those things called? Storage, a storage. Yeah.
I had really nothing. Like I was in my master's living with my brother at the time and 4 other friends. So I just said, all right, keep my stuff. I'm going to move to Dubai. I thought it was going to be maybe 2 years and then move back to California, settle down, start a family. But like Amanda said, that was a long time ago now. I think 17 years now. And no plan on moving back.
And you're also like minimalist.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm the problem in the relationship. I all the stuff. So if it were up to him, we'd have like almost nothing. So that's probably a big part of it too.
Yeah.
He had no problem
getting, it was easy.
Yeah.
And now kids require a lot of stuff.
That's right.
Yes.
And 4 cats as well.
Yeah, we do also have cats.
Scott, you did Dubai, the initial contract of 2 years. You stayed at the same school and just kept signing on for another year, or did you have like 2-year or 3-year contracts within?
Yeah. So I did an initial 2-year contract, and then they did it each year after that. So they didn't do like a 2-year or 3-year initially, or after the first initial contract. I did 4 years elementary school counseling, and then I moved over to the high school side. Did high school counseling for a couple years, started a peer counseling program there that was really modeled after the peer counseling program I was in when I was in high school. At that point, it was like, okay, I need something different. So that's when I moved to Shanghai.
And how did you get that? How did you find that one? Was it by that time network or still job fairs?
Yeah, so at that point it was networking. So within high school, college counseling, it is a really tight-knit community. It was just a friend at that point. And so he was working at that school, and they wanted a grade 9 counselor to come in that could really strengthen that program. So that was a very seamless sort of process from there.
Are you both counselors? I missed out. I was frozen for a little bit there.
So we are now both counselors. When we first got together, I was an elementary teacher. So that's kind of where I started. I was always kind of on that cusp when I finished AmeriCorps. That's actually what took me to AmeriCorps. Was I wasn't sure if I wanted to do teaching, social work, or counseling. I was like, well, let me do something totally different. You might have to go get her.
Yes, listeners, we have an infant on the show.
We have a baby.
And look who got up. Daddy got up to go take care of it this time.
I know,
that's great.
He's doing a great job.
Dads are the best.
Yes. So I think she'll make an appearance here in a minute. So yeah, I during AmeriCorps was observed by the director of education for that county, and at the end she said, "Have you ever thought about teaching?" And I thought, okay, well, if somebody else sees that in me, maybe that's what I should be doing. So, and I loved teaching. I still love teaching. It's a fantastic way for me to like spark curiosity. But it was one of those COVID moments. Oh, there she is.
Our first infant ITP
Everybody say,
guest.
What's her name?
Mason. She's spelled like the French version because we thought anywhere she is, we're home. So it's Maison, and French is home, house, home. So that's
Maison.
Miss.
Yeah.
Oh, and a cat. Hey, I wish Kent the cat guy was here. How many cats do you have?
We have 4.
4 cats. Oh my gosh.
And Mason is child number 1?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, she's our first. So it's been a lot of learning.
We were at your story, at your point of the story, Amanda, where you were deciding teaching or counseling or social work. AmeriCorps stepped in, said, "What about teaching?" And so then, did you at that point go for your teaching certificate?
So yes, by finishing AmeriCorps, I went in and did my certification for California because I had a bachelor's degree in early and elementary education already. But the reason I decided not to go through with my master's was because at the time in the U.S., funny enough, the time you were about to go abroad was Obama's administration for Race to the Top. So we had just finished with the No Child Left Behind in the U.S., and that really kind of soured education in a way, in my opinion. And then there was Race to the Top, which was, again, not a whole lot different. It still was based around test scores, and I was kind of jaded because in the program we learned kids are more than test scores, but then everything else around us was all about test scores. So that's kind of where I was like, well, I'm not sure what I really want to do. So then AmeriCorps happened, and then I got my certification in education, and I loved it. I absolutely enjoyed teaching, but then COVID hit. So like many people, I kind of pivoted because I was feeling like the message was, even though we're going through a global pandemic, we're going to provide the same type of education that we would if we were in person. And I was like, how? We're not addressing so many things. Everybody's throwing out, kids are resilient. And I'm like, but you have to teach skills to be resilient. We aren't just automatically resilient. Kids are not automatically resilient. And so that's where I was like, I think it's time. And so I made this shift, and while working full time, did my master's degree and through TCNJ and did the school counseling route. And so I've been a counselor now this is my 4th year. So we're both counselors. So that has its
different divisions.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I will breach high school. I'll leave that to him. I'll do the middle school, elementary school, but we make the joke that with both counselors, it could be either really good for her or really bad for her.
Tell mommy all your problems. I already did the dad last night. Oh, okay.
We do find at times that we'll use like counseling skills on each other, and we'll be like, don't you do that. I know what you're doing right now.
Don't you counsel me.
Yeah.
Well, I think from a TCK perspective, that would be great to have parents who are counselors, because then they understand what it's like, and how to help you cope, because not all parents do, especially when raising TCKs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Hannah, are you a TCK? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And raising TCKs. So I've got that experience.
Yeah, you've got that insight to be able to know what they're going through. Greg?
Oh, hi. Thanks for calling on me. I have a counselor question, and this is not every school, but I was wondering if you both have the experience where parents deny that there's a problem going on. They don't want to accept, they don't want to label their kids. They think that no matter what, it's going to label and hurt them. And how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say every school that we've been to.
It's a lot of, like, in both of our master's programs, we definitely talk a lot about the cultural elements to that as well. And some cultures don't believe in mental health, for example, right? Or don't believe in that sort of treatment. And so it's having to be able to look at it through that different lens, that if we come in with this sort of Western mindset of, you need to be an individual and you need to tell people what you want, what you need, all id and ego, and talk all about from that sort of perspective, it just goes over their head for some families. And so it's having to be able to meet them where they are. If they believe more in sort of a collectivist sort of mindset or a family sort of mindset. Again, this comes up a lot in college counseling as well, in terms of what's the most important factor when we think about fit. It's looking at ranking for some families. And as much as we want to be able to say, no, it's so much more, there's so much more to a university and an experience, rather than just simply the name of the school or the ranking. For some families, the name matters so much. In some countries and cultures, the name matters so much. So we're always having to be able to look at it with that sort of lens.
I think additionally, too, a lot of it is educating people on what counseling is and is not. That's come into play quite a bit as well, of educating families. Well, I'm not a clinical counselor. I'm not going to prescribe things. I'm not going to diagnose things. I'm here to support you and your child or children in the best way that helps them be successful. I kind of picture it as like a warm walk, not a warm handoff, because we're not passing them yet, but it's one of those things where it's like, I will guide you through this. You don't have to do this alone. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. If
in
you
a
want
safe
to take
place.
it back.
What's great about that is that, and for our listeners, is that anybody who has not taught overseas, is a lot of our international schools, the better ones at least, they have not only curriculum from the US or from Canada or from Australia or British, but we also have the sports, we have the music, we have languages, but we also have counselors. I've always been best friends with our counselors in elementary. As a male, I tend to have a lot of the problem kids in my classroom. No matter where you are in the world, it seems like they don't have a lot of elementary male teachers. So I've always become very close to the support that I need as a teacher for my students that have problems, that need a safe place to exit the classroom for a little bit because they are going, they're climbing the walls or they're disruptive. And for a teacher that's going out overseas, they should know that a lot of these schools have counselors. You are the example, of course, both of you, that we have counselors in our schools. It's a real shout out to these international schools to have counselors, especially like you say, that there's a lot of countries that don't have that same kind of structure with mental health and belief in mental health. I'd throw that out there.
And as well, if I may, my husband has taught in inner city Houston, and now having taught overseas with kids who have a lot of money, who are very wealthy. He always says kids are kids, whether they're from inner city Houston or whether they're exorbitantly wealthy, they have the same problems. And so inner city kids need counselors, wealthy kids need counselors. It's not just like this division between these different areas of the world or different,
classes, different social classes.
Economic.
Yeah.
No, certainly in high school, we are still seeing the same sort of things that I would be seeing back in California. So, students with eating disorders and self-harm and a ton of anxiety and depression. So it might be a few and far between. And at the same time, we're still seeing the same sort of things. And then the added element of, parents are both working and traveling, or just one parent is working and traveling. So there are some other elements that, come into play that, I might not see as often in California, for example. So, it's a fun group. Every school is very different. An approach to counseling at each school. We certainly have our same sort of standards that we would have back in the States as well, or different parts around the world. So we do have the International School Counseling Association, so similar to American School Counseling Association. So we have those sort of standards. We map it with curriculum, and whether that's in elementary school where we're doing a little bit more classroom lessons, or more so with high school where we're more individually working with students, or larger sort of presentations with whole groups of students.
Well, and I'm wondering too, do you have a hand in forming the advisory group or the homeroom groups and their
Absolutely.
curriculum?
Yeah, and so each school that I've been at and we've been at, it's at different stages in that sort of process. And so some schools, it's really, really strong advisory programs, really prescribed. These are our lessons, and we roll each year. Kind of spiral the curriculum each year. Whereas other schools, they're in the infancy stage. They haven't quite hit that, and they're trying to create. As counselors, we certainly have a play in that, or a role in that, and work closely. Some schools, like for example, our school here in Riyadh has a grade level leader for each grade, 9 through 12. And so we get to work closely with one of those grade level leaders because we have 4 counselors. So that kind of works out really well.
Wow, that is a great infrastructure for support. I know a lot of counselors are stretched thin. I had a client that was a K to 12 counselor. I was like, how do you do that? It's incredible. Mind you, if the school is 300 kids, you can understand, okay, well, K to 12 makes sense, because otherwise it would start getting expensive from a school perspective. You need so many skills to be able to address all those issues. So it sounds great when you hear even like it's year by year in high school that serves the population so well.
Right. We are still comprehensive counselors and have students 9 through 12. So we do the academic, social, emotional, and college career piece with that global piece added in. In terms of the advisory program, that's where we are working with each individual grade level. It's kind of nice to be able to have that. We have that world in terms of advisory, and also our day-to-day with everything else.
You just mentioned mental health earlier. It's something too that I think we're hearing more and more about, for better or worse. I think it's a huge passion of mine. I'm actually an instructor for youth mental health first aid. That program really helps support the mental health side of things that I think often get pushed aside or maybe not addressed or thought of. I'm hopeful that something that continues to grow and pick up steam over the next few years in particular.
I have to jump in here, you guys. I mean, all of you, it sounds very interesting, and counseling is amazing, but we have a baby on the screen. Can we talk about having a 2-month-old over? I mean, obviously, Hannah, you have experience,
yeah.
but look at that. Look at
and having a baby in Saudi Arabia, right? So that
right. You had her in Saudi then. 2 months ago.
Yeah. So she's a
oh, come on, tell us some stories. Tell us about how it was and support you had or didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I guess how do you want to start with that? I mean, it was going to the prenatal visits. I think one difference that we noticed right off the bat was that her doctor didn't ever touch her until the very, very late stages of her pregnancy. My mom is a midwife, so I kind of come from that background of what that's like, and have this sort of mind of this is what is supposed to happen, and it's obviously very different here. So there's different
that's
rules,
black and white. Wow.
Presuming the doctor was a male then.
It was a female.
No, actually, so there are quite a few female doctors. Wow. So I ended up switching doctors, and it's another female. There's tons of women.
But I was thinking the touching must have been a male thing, but why would the female doctor not touch you?
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I've got nothing else to compare it to. So,
yeah. Hannah, do you remember that in Kuwait?
Yeah. I'm trying to think back. That was like right on the cusp of COVID. So I'm like, or like right before COVID. So, my memory is shot from then, but I don't think up until I gave birth, she really touched me, because she had an assistant in the room who would, she would put the ultrasound on my stomach, but I don't think she did anything else up until I was in labor also.
Yeah. And another interesting part here was that they have 2 teams. So there's a team of doctors for Amanda as she's giving birth.
And a team for you?
The baby is born. Yeah, there's definitely for me as well. And there's a team of doctors that are more so male doctors that are pediatricians for the baby. So there's a curtain that separates the two. And as soon as the baby's born, they pass the baby through the curtain to another set of team that never sees her.
Yeah, they don't talk to me. They don't there's nothing with me. It's only for the baby.
Oh, I'm getting like vibes of Handmaid's Tale right now. With the curtain and never seeing.
Not the curtain thing, but I think that's somewhat common because when I had my second and I gave birth in Texas, I remember the birthing team was out in the hallway and actually our nurse was yelling for them to come in because she needed someone to catch the baby because he's coming faster than they anticipated. And
it's the football.
they were waiting for my doctor and she was parking her car and they're like, the birthing team is out in the hallway. And I'm like, just someone catch my baby. Like,
give him a catcher's mitt and send him in. We're calling him off the bench. Let's go.
And I was like, I can't do it right now. I've hopped up on an epidural. Like but I think it was the same in Kuwait. And again, I'm having problems remembering because that was, 6 years ago and right on the cusp of COVID. So, I think that's somewhat common. That experience there of having a team for the baby and a team for
I love that idea though, because then each person has their specialty and they know what they're looking for, and you know that your baby's getting well taken care of with a whole team of doctors.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know about you guys, but it irritated me at first because I remember with Lincoln, I was like, I just want him on my chest right away because the skin to skin contact within the first 30 minutes is so important. So I was like, just give me my baby, and
the imprinting.
and they're like, oh no, we have to do all the measurements and all this and that. And I was like, I don't care. That can wait. Give me my baby, And
I would think that would be part of the birthing plan, Hannah. Yeah, would you not go through that beforehand?
Sure. And we would, we had to advocate and share it with the different nurses that came in, the different teams. And unfortunately, it was more of an emergency C-section for Mason. And so, it got to a certain point where her heart rate started dropping and they had to make the call where it's like, all right, we got to do this. Yeah. And so what's different here is as soon as it's an emergency C-section, the father can't be there. They had to wheel her into essentially an emergency, a
surgery room. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't go past the red line. So I had to actually
And you went back to have a cup of tea. They're like, inshallah, it will be okay.
Yeah, inshallah, it'll be okay. We'll let you know.
Inshallah. No problem, my friend.
So it was definitely like nerve-wracking not knowing, is the baby okay? Is Amanda okay? Where are they? And I had to keep checking in to be able to make sure that once she was out of surgery that I could go see her.
Yeah. So question along with the C-section and Saudi culture, do they, for women, once they have a C-section, do they offer like a tummy tuck or something? Because some cultures do that. They'll do a C-section and a tummy tuck all in one, and just kind of wrap it all up.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't, or at least they didn't offer it to me. I don't know. Maybe if you're important enough here, they do.
Need that wasp.
But yeah.
Yes.
It's definitely something though that I think, I don't know if it would be considered like a language thing or we just weren't very clear. But some of the stuff in our birth plan didn't get honored. I don't know if that's the way to phrase it, but there was just kind of miscommunication around it. But I wonder if I had put in add suction out a little of the baby
wasn't in the brochure.
Well, as a nose job,
as a listener, just so for the listeners a little bit, and I just want to reassure listeners, in cases, at least where we live in Saudi, there's a lot of English. And I could just imagine someone tuning into this and saying, oh my God, you don't even speak the language. How were they speaking Arabic and stuff? But I would imagine you didn't even have a translator in there. It's just doctors. There's doctors and
Filipino
nurse staff. They speak with
nurses,
Westerners,
Indian nurses.
English, right? I'm just verifying and sort of devil's
Exactly.
advocate here.
What I mean by that is, to give an example, we put on the birth plan delayed bath or delayed bathing because we wanted the zirconium,
The vernix.
or the vernix,
Yeah.
the vernix to stay on and do, Hannah, like what you were saying, is skin. But what ended up happening was they wiped her down and took all the vernix off and then just didn't wash her. So I think that's more of what I mean is we just maybe weren't clear in that. Ooh, she's hungry.
And again, like their priority is, they probably want a beautiful baby, a clean baby. So they think they're, doing what we would want them to do anyway.
And a lot of people have their babies overseas. You're going to have a different experience. And I am dating myself here, but back in 2002, my friends Bryn and Shannon, they've been on this show before. They had their first child in Honduras. And I will never forget that. We have a picture of like 3 of the guys sitting there with the baby, 3 men and a baby. But I remember the nurse coming out and taking out a cigarette and having to drag in the hallway talking to us while this is all going. She's like, yeah, she's okay. And, and I'm like, there's a freaking hospital here. And that was years ago. But there are certain things that in healthcare, especially, you don't know what you're always going to get. And it's going to be a different package. But a lot of international teachers, and we have 3 of you online right now, actually have had kids overseas. It's a shout out to teachers that they don't have to be worried about that in most cases. I mean, every country's different, and yet there's a lot of successful babies, and it's even cheaper for some.
Yeah.
I can't speak for you, but I know that the insurance plans cover it, and it's cheaper overseas, and the quality of the care is great. Not in every case. I'm not even the one experiencing this. I mean, I just hear a lot about it. Right, you can verify that. I would imagine.
So I've had a child in the U.S. and I've had a child in Kuwait, and I will say my care in Kuwait, my prenatal care, my labor and delivery, everything far outranked my care and delivery in the U.S. And you know what? We paid nothing in Kuwait, and we paid an arm and a leg to have our child in Texas. And I mean, just the difference was astronomical. Like I said earlier, my doctor was literally parking her car when I was in the middle of giving birth in the US. Like, how crazy is that? And in Kuwait, she was right there in the room with me, But even like if you talk about prices, like, oh my gosh, we paid absolutely nothing. And if you look at like what the countries offer too for maternity leave, some countries offer breastfeeding hours, things like that. I don't know about Saudi, but I was given 10 weeks maternity leave in Kuwait and breastfeeding hours up until the child was 2. So
I don't get breastfeeding hours in my contract.
That's a whole other kettle of fish, OkCupid.
So that went well with you, Scott and Amanda. Your insurance package and all of that kind of stuff. You're not going poor just because you're wanting to have a baby. Okay.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
So we didn't pay anything. We were waiting for like a bill to come, but yeah, nothing that we had to pay other than maybe just the emergency room initial kind of fee. But that wasn't much at all. And then Amanda gets 12 weeks.
84 days.
84 days.
Whatever that is.
And then she can extend it for another month for unpaid leave. So she's doing that. And she does have the breastfeeding hour that she can be able to use to either breastfeed or pump at school.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I would also say too, Hannah, it sounds like you had a similar experience. The care was just great. Even though like during the C-section, they don't really care to talk to me because they're busy, right? They're doing what they need to do to make sure the baby and everything is safe. But I did have one nurse who would come around and like give me an update every now and then. Just everybody, the nurse care afterward, I think standard is 4 days, but we ended up staying 3.
Change.
And then just the nurses that would come in and help care for us and like make sure that we got our meals. We're vegetarian, and so like supporting us to get the vegetarian meals, making sure I went to the bathroom. That was new for me, of somebody like helping me shuffle to the bathroom, and like they were just getting in there. So I was like, okay,
what a
we're
great
doing
story.
it.
Yeah.
And
And
from all
Scott,
of
did
the-
you get some paternity leave? Like, oftentimes international schools will give like a month or.
Yeah, I got 3 days. Luckily,
Oof.
it's right before the December break. So I was able to take
Ah.
3 weeks and be with her, help out with Amanda. And so it was the three of us for 3 weeks. And I can't imagine, what life would have been like had I done 3 days and then said, all right, I'm going back to work.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
to the listeners, if you're thinking of having a baby, maybe try starting around March, because then that'll get you to the December break.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
Not that that's TMI. That might be TMI.
Or if you can time it to where you have the baby in like April, then you get your maternity leave up until the end of, or up until summer. And then you have that and all of your summer break too.
So true.
Absolutely.
Timing is key. Hannah, did Jake get any kind of paternity leave when he was in Kuwait?
Funny you should ask. He got COVID. So he got, well, I shouldn't say he got COVID like physically, but he took, I think, 3 or 4 days, sick days, and then everything shut down for COVID. So he had like 6 months at home or something like that. And
Well planned.
COVID was well planned.
He joked around with our head of school at the time. He was like, "Hey, thanks for the paternity leave. I really appreciate it."
Oh my god!
Back when we had no idea what was going on, because it was right at the beginning of COVID, right? It was February of 2020, and it hadn't really hit most of the world at the time, and so we had shut down, and we were just kind of like, "What do we do now?" I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, and there were those pockets. So I was thinking, I was in Oman on Chinese New Year when it struck Iran, and then everybody in the area was sort of scrambling and thinking, what can we do? So it wasn't just focused in China, but those pockets were around.
All right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all 4 of us at the ITPexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/ITPexpat, where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP Expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at International Teacher Podcast. This is our handle.
All right, and thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners, and though we're not monetized, we are here for you, and we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show.
Scott and Amanda, you're looking to raise, I want to say maison, now that I know her name is French. You're looking to raise her overseas?
Yeah, kind of like Scott, I don't ever want to move back to the US. I think fortunate for both of us, we have family support with that. I do think it's a little bit different now that we have a little one, and they kind of, families abroad, we all know it's difficult, right? Being away from family and missing out on kind of maybe those traditional memories. But we do plan to stay out and have her be a TCK. And you mentioned that, and it's just such a gift. I think we're so privileged to be able to live this life and to provide that lifestyle to little ones. I mean, that's just incredible to grow up with different experiences, different cultures, So we can't imagine doing anything else, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but as a TCK and now raising TCKs, it's definitely been worth it. Like you said, I don't have a lot of traditional memories. I do to an extent because, I have some. And same with my boys. They have some from when we have been back in the US, but they also get to say, I was born in Kuwait. Or guess what? I have no legal middle name because the US Embassy messed up my name. Things like that, right? Like they get to say fun stuff like that for trivia night and or whatever. And
Two truths and a lie.
yeah, two truths and a lie. There we go, not trivia night.
Yeah.
But it enriches their lives, right?
I grew up in Ottawa, and I had one set of grandparents that was 6 hours away by car, and I had another set of grandparents that was 13 hours away by car. To get to those grandparents, it was planned. It was not every weekend. So sometimes we forget that really flights, the way flights are organized, and if we do plan ahead, we sometimes might even see our family more when we move overseas because we're more intentional about seeing them and making them a priority than if we lived, say, 6 hours away from them. We might not see them as much.
Absolutely. And that's something that we want to, continue to do, that each summer we do go back home and we visit family. Amanda's from Virginia, so we go to Virginia for like 2 weeks, and I'm from California, so we'll go to California for a couple weeks. And probably after that, we're ready to go back international. So we try to balance it.
And at some point in your careers, you might decide, well, let's make a home. I know a lot of my friends with families overseas, they decide after, doing the suitcase thing and the guest room thing in the parents-in-laws or the aunts and uncles' houses, they're like, you know what, we're just going to buy a house and you all can come visit us. And then that way they have a home base. Is that something you might see on the horizon?
We've talked about it a lot. The trick is where. We've thought about maybe we'll go in the middle and have them, come to the middle. It's like owning a place and whether or not we want to, rent it out when we're not there or just have it sit. Who's going to maintain it? And do we buy a place for only to be there for a month? So we've talked a lot about it. A lot of it is also planning for the future in terms of retirement. That's a whole other podcast as well in terms of international educators. We're not there yet, but there's never say never.
I was going to say, I think I saw Greg wanted to share too.
Oh, hey, I want to say something. I'm not a kind of baby guy. I don't have any kids of my own. Love kids, love babies. Two things I want to say. Number one, I hope you have a capucci, which is that baby carrier that you put the baby facing out and they have their little legs and their arms, right? So they're the happiest babies I ever see. Yeah. The ones that have their facing out, not like facing into breastfeed. I think you can switch them around if you want, but rather than a backpack like the 70s. I think I was in a backpack on my dad's shoulders. But anyway, number two, speaking of babies, now you guys have moved up in the airlines because now you get to go, bingo, you're right to the front of the line. But if you're ever in Suriname, and you try and get over the border, don't expect to be able to go first as the husband because they would only let Amanda go first. And then, Scott, you'd have to wait behind everybody else. So that's if you're in Suriname going over the border. We did an episode with Scott and Tara, episode 8, but I just wanted to share that with you. I always have to shout out other episodes. And if you haven't heard Hannah's episode, you have to hear her episode about having her baby in Kuwait. Oh, my God, it is the greatest.
The COVID transportation.
It's the COVID baby story. You got to hear it.
Hannah wanted to say
something.
Episode
99. By the way, for listeners and for you guys as well, we do own a townhouse in the U.S. and we've found it to be a wonderful benefit to us because we have our own space then when we go home, especially traveling with kids. We have a lot of family who they are willing to open their homes to us anytime, but to have our own space for the boys to be able to run around and to recover from jet lag and things like that is great. Also, we chose a townhouse because then they take care of the outside of it for us. And we got things like a Ring doorbell and security cameras and a Nest thermostat so we could control everything from overseas. So that way we didn't need a renter. Now, it just so happened that my sister-in-law lives there because her lease was up and she was looking for a place. So it worked out conveniently for us. But it's also really close to
And
my
where
husband's
did you choose?
family.
Texas
Iowa.
or Iowa? Okay.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah, Scott and Amanda, you can just get one in between, Virginia and California somewhere. In fact, Wisconsin's a beautiful country, beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Missouri. I mean, yeah, don't ever go to Texas.
Well, the danger in that is then you're still making everybody travel. So ultimately, it might be sort of a flip of the coin, or it might also be affordability. I'm thinking California house versus Virginia house might be quite different in terms of affordability.
It's funny because when we first got together and I took him to Virginia for the first time, he was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so green here. And what's all this big space?" I'm like, "Those are yards. Like those are people's lawns."
Like, backyards, front yards.
Yeah. I think too, Andrew Hallam's book, he talks about investing and like, having one is good because it gives you the place to like call your own. And then a good investment is 2 or more.
Right.
So we've kind of gone back and forth a bit, but
I mean, right now Maison is really small, and so she's adaptable. But I was
she's
thinking
in the
with
overhead.
Hannah, the 2 boys that you have, like that would be awkward for a guest room. How are you going to have like a family of 4 in a guest room? So at some point you might say, yeah, this makes kind of sense.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some family members who have more than one guest room, but it's still awkward because I didn't want my family to be up in the middle of the night if they heard the baby crying, that kind of thing. And then also I just wanted my own space that wasn't like just one room too. So, that was kind of that. But yeah, traveling with kids is not easy. Get the bassinet seat. They will sleep when they're newborns the entire flight, practically.
Wow.
With the help of Jack Daniels.
Not be true.
Inshallah.
As Greg was saying, inshallah.
Yeah. Because you're probably looking at a big 2-month tour this summer. Is that right?
Yeah, we're actually moving to Indonesia this summer. So it's 4 cats, a baby, and a shipment.
Wow.
So we'll go through that experience in the next few months.
And where?
So you were recruiting this year. You were recruiting while you were having a child. Holy kudos to you.
Not afraid of challenge and change, I guess. Go big.
Yeah. Oh, let's have a baby and move at the same time. So listen, where in Indonesia then?
In Jakarta.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Been
will
there.
you do some U.S. time to?
Yeah, so we'll be
balance
back
that?
in the U.S. for maybe 3 weeks to, avoid the physical presence test and spend a little bit of time in England or Canada, not quite sure yet, looking at Banff National Park, incredible, or something in England as well. So we'll see.
What are you saying? Physical presence test? What's that?
Well, so Americans, you can't have more than 30 days in the States for taxes.
For taxes,
Continual.
yeah.
Wait, what?
You have to prove if you're earning foreign earned income, you have to prove that you're outside of the United States. And there's 2 ways to go about it. One is the physical presence test, and I can't remember what the other one is, but because my husband handles all of our finances.
But you can't physically be in the U.S. anytime during the year more than 30 days.
You can.
Continually.
It's 300.
Yeah.
It's got to touch that year at some point. So you can touch other years and still meet that physical presence test. You need that 365 continuous days that you can't be over that amount.
Can you give like an example of let's say you enter at like December?
Yeah, so it could be December of one year, and it could be, I don't know. I'd have to look at it.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not getting it because
just think like this,
know,
JP. Just think about it like this. When we go back
I've
home,
never
we
heard
don't
this.
stay more than 30 days and you're fine. That's pretty much in a
I've
nutshell.
never heard
There's
this.
some
And
little
I'm
caveats too.
pretty sure I have friends that work overseas and they've been like 2 months.
We stay longer than a month every summer, but I think it's the first year that you're abroad, you have to solidify that in order to be able to claim that you make foreign earned income. Or something like that. I don't know exactly. If Jake was here, he could explain it to you. He knows it very well. But I know
this
that
is a chance for somebody who's listening.
We're trying to explain it to a
listening
Canadian.
this,
She's not going to understand any of this.
Yeah, but somebody write us in with the actual rules. If you're listening to this so frustrated and just wishing to be part of this conversation, please write to us so that we can understand. I know that I was in the dentist chair yesterday and I was working through my calendar to make sure I was 6 months less a day in Canada. Because of my residency, I'm a non-resident in Canada and I've been since 2002 or 2003 maybe. I sold a house, so 2003. But I make sure that I'm 6 months less a day. And so I was going through, because like he's drilling away and I'm like, I got to get my mind on something else. So I was physically counting the weeks that I was in Canada this calendar year.
Okay, so I've got it, guys. Jake is texting me from the other room. So
he
heard us
on a conversation.
Yeah. He said there's a physical presence test. So you need to be a certain number of days outside of the U.S. Then there's also the bona fide foreign resident. You've lived overseas for an entire calendar year. So you become a bona fide foreign resident, I believe, after like your first year, you get that 30 days. Because then you can claim that because you're earning that foreign earned income because you're overseas for however long, you get that, right? So then you don't have to, because as Americans, if you make below a certain threshold overseas, you don't have to pay taxes on it. I don't remember what that threshold is.
It was like 108 or something.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
something like
108,000. Yeah.
Which
pretty much helps eliminate any international teacher, not school leaders necessarily, but definitely teachers. But okay, but you're saying in the first year you need to stay out 365 days? So that makes sense because I have heard some people say, oh, I'm going to spend my summer in Europe. And it was because of that.
You're talking to newbies.
You can only qualify for bona fide foreign resident if you are living overseas from January 1st to December 31st. Doesn't matter how many days you're visiting the U.S. It's a judgment call by the U.S. tax guys, though, so you don't want too many ties to the U.S. We have kids living with us, and that helps a lot.
Good.
This episode is going all over the place. We've got babies. I can't believe how many countries you and Scott, you and Amanda have been in, and you've definitely been out of America for more than, your first year. Wow. It's amazing. But we have I'm going to sort of complete the circle here. We have two main questions. You've heard a couple episodes in the past. And remember, when we talk about the three things, you can't include anything with a heartbeat. So it can't be your 4 cats and it can't be your baby. What are 3 things that you can each answer this? 3 things that make you feel at home in a country.
You didn't tell me that part. That changes it.
I think
or things you bring with you.
Yeah. In the Philippines, we picked out a couch and a bed. And so wherever we've gone, we bring the couch and the bed. And as soon as that's there, our shipment arrives, we can make it homey again.
Got it.
So certainly the couch and the bed.
So they're going to Indonesia with you?
They'll be going to Indonesia with us.
Wow. Okay.
So I see it as
Comfort.
it's comfort. That's where you.
Obviously, the bed works. I mean, look she's right there in front of you.
TMI.
There's going to be more kids coming up.
We're not judgmental.
That's true. It could be the couch. You never know.
But no, I totally understand because the furniture overseas can be really uncomfortable. And so a comfy couch and a comfy bed will help your quality of life immensely. Are there other things that make you feel like more, at home and welcome?
The third one, I think, is a harder point for us to answer because we're trying to downsize. But I think it may be just the little kind of pictures or trinkets or things that we kind of carry around with us. And so, we have pictures from family. We have like
the magnets on the fridge.
Magnets on the fridge, or like the paintings we've gotten from travels, and where you just kind of make it your own. So
it's the memories.
I guess it would be, it's not particularly one object, but I guess it's the things that make it memories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and our second question is all about a police story that you can share safely on air. So do you have one, Scott? And then maybe we'll even go to Amanda if she has if she has one as well.
So we actually have one together, and we
there you go.
Asked this question. So we're talking about which story do we tell?
Which one? Okay, so there's a whole bunch of them.
Which of the Rolodex many that we have?
We're not like breaking laws wherever we go. We're like,
I won't go into
running from the FBI.
20s. It was a different time before I met Amanda. I think it was in the Philippines. So that's probably the one that we think of the most when we think of a police story. And this was actually, funny enough, we were going to the police station to get fingerprinting for the FBI background check to be able to send back to the U.S. And some of the traffic laws, some of the infrastructure within Manila can be a little bit tricky, confusing. And so we were coming up to a light and we needed to do a U-turn. And we couldn't tell from, even 50 meters out whether or not we could turn left or not. So as I crept up into the intersection, I saw a police officer in the middle of the road, and he was directing traffic in different ways. And so I crept up, rolled down my window, and he said, come forward, come on. And so I started turning to get to him. And then he was like, you can't turn. It's not allowed. And I was like, you told me to come this way. And so he's like, pull to the side of the road. And I was like, oh my God. And this is like the second or third time that we had gone to the police station, because the first time they made a mistake with her birthday. And so we had to go back to be able to redo it.
Well, and actually that same trip was another road law where we were in the turn lane, but we didn't know, and we went straight. And so we got pulled over for that. And then the second one, then that guy
on the way to the police station.
That guy was baiting you. That guy was like under quota, and he said, let me bait these tourists. Yes. Come on. Aha, caught you.
100%.
Exactly.
So needless to say, we didn't pay a fee. They didn't take my license. There might have been a few tears shed here or there. And they said, go ahead. I'll actually take you to the police station. So he helped us get there because we were feeling lost. We flustered.
What, he just jumped in the back seat or what?
Yeah, exactly. So we did get a police escort at the end of the day to the police station, which was very nice.
But it was definitely oh my gosh, again, like, yeah.
I love that's a great story.
And Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken, is still on the right hand. It's not like Japan or Singapore, I think.
Or Thailand. Thailand's on the other side as well.
That's right, in Thailand.
Yeah. So
have you driven on that side?
Yeah. So I've done that a few times. I did that in Cyprus, Australia, and England as well. So it's
world travelers.
Whenever she gets very nervous because I'm very much on the other side of the line. It's harder to be able to adjust that. So
he's a close line driver, and I'm like,
which line? The center line or the side?
I'm on the shoulder,
line.
So I'm like,
yes,
way on that other side.
Yeah.
And whenever it's a stick shift as well, when it's my left hand rather than my right hand, that's even trickier.
Yeah, I was just in the UK with my mom, and we rented a car for about 10 days, and I paid extra to get an automatic. Little did I know I actually reserved a manual, but I think it was just because it was the cheapest. I didn't notice the
You
fine
wimp.
print. But once we got there, I was like, I am not doing this with a manual shift. Are you kidding me? Like, my right hand will want to change gears, and I'll be rolling down a
and
window.
not only that, but the pedals are opposite. No, they're the same.
The pedals stay the same.
The pedals are the same, but the other one, it's
Yeah.
that's crazy. I did that in Ireland. I was nominated to drive for 5 days. I'm like, oh my God. But yes.
Yeah, I don't think my left hand wants to do any gear shift. So yeah, and I definitely brushed a couple of trees and hedges on
broke
the left
some
side,
laws for sure,
because I felt like if I'm too close to that center line and somebody else is too close to the center line, we're gonna whack side mirrors. Yeah. So my mom said, hey, like, we're really close to the bushes over here.
I have some good advice for anybody that goes to one of the countries. Like, let's say you go to Ireland and you have to drive. We got out of the airport, and the shuttle that took us to the national car rental, he said, always turn left. And I was like, damn, that's pretty good. That's good advice. I just kept turning left the whole vacation.
Oh, because it's the easiest.
Yes. He goes, just turn left. I'm like, okay, I got it. Okay. Yeah, it works out well.
Where you need to go, but it works.
Yes.
Right? It's like taking off one of your shoes.
Circles.
Exactly.
It's like a slinky. You just keep spiraling.
I could talk to you guys for another 4 or 5 hours, to tell you the truth. I really could. I mean, we could keep going on forever, but I think we need to draw it to a little bit of an end. Let's do some final thoughts from you, Scott, and Amanda, whichever would like to go first.
Yeah,
for listeners,
I think we're just excited for this next chapter in our life. We're raising a child and going back to Southeast Asia, which we miss a lot, and enjoy hearing other people's stories. So thank you so much for having this podcast.
Yeah, well, and I think too, usually we're the ones asking questions, and so it was hard for me not to throw it back to you all so much and, not talk. But again, we really appreciate you all taking the time and letting us be a part of it.
All right, Hannah.
Thank you guys for joining us on the podcast. It's great to have parents on the podcast and parents who have given birth overseas. And for listeners, it's an amazing experience. And we've talked about a lot of the positives on the show, I feel like, but also, some of we've talked about some of the realistic things of that. So don't be afraid if that's your scenario.
Well, we've heard so much from you guys about so many different things. I'm thinking like OkCupid, obviously, hey, that can work out even when you're not in the same country. As well as, going from teaching to counseling and that trajectory as well. So this has been such a rich episode of different stories and different pathways. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing a little slice of your life and Maison as well.
Yes, this whole episode's about Maison, her first podcast at 2 months old. Fantastic. Yes. From Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And let's draw this to a close. I do want to mention that we did not talk enough about cats. If Cat Guy had been with us, we would have talked a lot more about cats. JP's a dog person. Hannah, we haven't talked much about pets, you and I, but I love cats and dogs. If you are a listener that loves cat stories, make sure you jump back on to episode 16. Back in 221, we had the greatest cat story ever. So you can listen, and it's with, who was that with?
Is that the Chicagoans with the?
It's Aaron and Tabitha. Aaron and Tabitha. They were, I think they're banned from an airline forever, like for lifetime, because of a cat story. So go back and listen to episode 16. You'll love it. But I do want to say, on behalf of Scott and Amanda in Riyadh with Maison, thank you very much. Hannah in Pakistan, JP Mint in Mexico, and I'm Greg, the single guy. Of course, you can find me all over the place. JP Mint is on JP Mint Consulting, and we will see Scott and Amanda again sometime soon with their next child, or with Maison as she grows up. We'll keep going. Yeah. So
you never know.
That's true. Thank you very much, everybody. That's an episode. We'll see you next episode of the ITP. Oh, that was great. Thank you so much. Stay on.